Okay, just a very few days to go for polling, and Karnataka's mood has changed phenomenally. And we are yet to see what kind of an impact the Prime Minister's roadshow in Bangalore city has had on the voters here. But most certainly, a lot of action in the last few days. It's been an exciting so far, and we're going to talk about a very interesting. It's not a survey as such; it's more of a prediction, and this is basic number crunching. It's phenomenal number crunching, and I'd like to introduce the person who's the brain behind this number crunching, and that's him right there on your screens, Mr. Venugopal Narayanan. He's the contributing editor of Swarajya. A real pleasure to have you, Mr. Venu, on the lead. Now, you have
Thank you.
given a very interesting prediction, and might I also say that compared to all of the pre-poll surveys that have been done by various polling agencies along with television channels, I think people on social media have probably gotten it far more accurate than the people who are the so-called experts on the ground. So tell us about your the survey results. You're giving the BJP a thumping majority. So please tell us your findings and how you did the number crunching.
Thank you, ma'am. Glad to be on your show. So, the forecast is the product of, I think, 2 months of breaking our heads while we crunch the numbers. Yeah, very straightforward methodology, which we have used in the past for a number of other states. I think off the back of my head, I think Goa, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Tripura. We've done a lot of states, and we've gotten most of them fairly accurately. First point is what we did. We took the historical electoral data and integrated it with the demographic data from the 2011 census. And this is important because a lot of the time we do number crunching in isolation. People will look at electoral data, others will look at demographics of a particular region, but we brought it together on one platform, analyzed it using spreadsheets and GIS packages. Second, we did a whole lot of specific calculations on the data, which each one of which ended up being an article in itself for Swarajya. I don't want to bore your viewers with the list, but stuff like vote share analysis, vote swing analysis, margin analysis, all kinds of stuff, triangularity. Because if you remember 2018, which is the last assembly election in Karnataka, JDS was polling some material votes in a number of seats in central and northern Karnataka too, outside their bastion of Old Mysore state. Once we did that, we started integrating this with ground reports, including taking points from some of the reports you've published. And we ended up making a lot of qualitative assessments because at some point, man, the numbers stopped making sense. Once we did that, we put it all together and we generated what are known as predictor curves for the Bharatiya Janata Party, the Congress, and the Janata Dal secular JDS. Then we ran our numbers to see where they fell on these curves. Because if they fall off the curves too much, then obviously we're wrong. Interestingly, what we saw was that starting with the Congress, 40% vote share, midpoint 87 seats, the margin of plus minus 6 seats, margin of error, fell on the curve. BJP, 113 seats with 42% vote share, fell on the curve. JDS, 12% vote share, 23 seats, fell off the curve. And that's where we discovered something really interesting. We found out that, very interesting, we found out that If you're getting your BJP and Congress numbers fairly right, you should get your JDS numbers wrong on your plot. Now that doesn't make any sense, does it?
Exactly.
Because
Why is that? Why is
yeah,
that?
so what we found out was that because the JDS is so limited geographically, and yet it has a bastion in Old Mysore state, which you cannot ignore, it skews the numbers. It skews the numbers. So what we did was we took a, how shall I put it, a judgment call, and we wrote it in the text. It's there in our forecast, which we released this morning. We wrote in the text that we have high confidence levels on the BJP and Congress numbers. We are ignoring this so-called error. It's actually not an error. I'll explain that part in a bit. And we are saying that the higher probability is that the JDS would get below 15% of vote share and probably below 20 seats.
Below
Yeah,
20 seats.
yeah. Hold on. Yeah,
All right.
hold on. Now, you have to. There's a lot of iteration going on in this work. What we did was we found out that actually this mismatch between the JDS data point and its predictor curve actually works as a brilliant mechanism to determine margins of error for vote share and seats won for the BJP and the Congress. So it's all math. For us, we got plus minus 6 seats for both the big parties, plus minus 2% vote share for both the parties. Now, working in isolation, obviously, you one day, are you talking through your hat? But even the even the most spurious of surveys which came out, we see that they're also giving roughly the same margins of error for vote share and seat share. So we're within range. We're within the range. There's nothing to worry about in that
Okay.
sense. That's the forecast.
Great. And it really looks now as if you might probably be closer to the reality than most other pre-poll surveys in the which have put out their findings in the recent past. Anyway, we are going to polls on the 10th, so we will see what happens. But I wanted to ask you now. Everyone talks about the and we were having this discussion as well, that about VIP candidates and VIP seats. Varuna especially is of great interest simply because Mr. Somana appears to be giving Mr. Siddharamaya a fight. But apart from the VIP seats and the VIP candidates, you had mentioned that there are a lot of interesting seats which you have found during your analysis. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So this goes back to our 2019 general elections when the Bharatiya Janata Party swept the state and their independent ally in Mandya, also won. What we did was we ran an analysis comparing 2018 to 2019, knowing that everyone will say, no, 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 Karnataka votes differently in Lok Sabha elections and assembly
The apples and
elections.
oranges. Yeah.
Agreed. It does, agreed. But this was different solely because of the magnitude of the sweep. What we saw was that lakhs and lakhs of people who had never voted for the Bharatiya Janata Party were voting for the party in very large numbers in areas where the BJP almost didn't exist, like that area east of Bangalore, Kolar, or JDS territory, Old Mysore state. That's when we started trying to figure out what that meant. The more we looked at it, the more we said that there is a significant probability that the 2019 results will mimic themselves in the 2023 assembly elections to a marginal extent. It is impossible that, say, for example, a seat like Mulbagal, reserve seat Mulbagal, BJP pulled something like single digits there in 2018, and they got 60% in 2019. That does not happen off the cuff, and it
But
wasn't just.
I mean, even when I was on the ground, people were telling me that, something very similar, that in 2024 we will vote for Modi, but
Hmm.
now we might vote for Congress, we might vote for JDS. So that dichotomy, I mean, it can't be ignored, right?
I agree, man. I agree. But all I'm saying is that look at some of these seats, and I actually wrote last week that some of these seats are going to become pretty famous come 13th of May. Kolar itself, Arsikere, Arkalgud, Arsikere. My God, it's the JDS through and through, and today they're probably going to come third. There's a possibility that they might come third there. So there,
Right, but that's
my
also
point
because
is
the candidate moved to the Congress.
again, so everyone talks about candidate selection. Yes, it's important, but
Right.
my basic thesis is slightly broader. I am saying that the civilization vote has been triggered in Karnataka, and it's going to show itself on the 13th of May.
And what is this civilizational vote that you have been speaking about?
Very simple, very simple. What we've seen in the last 10 years is that if political parties try to get the identity vote, consolidate the identity vote under their banners, there is a very strong counter consolidation, a supra caste counter consolidation in
Okay.
favor of the BJP. In favor of the BJP.
Right.
Now, what it may sound silly to say this, but the numbers show that the moment the JDS and the Congress allied in 2019, they handed recovery to the BJP on a platter because the BJP, don't forget, had lost a decade. 20, they were on a wonderful growth path from 99 to 2008. Then 2013 happened. What people don't realize, and this is where I'm coming to bottom line, what people don't realize is that 2018 was a recovery election for the BJP. It was not a growth election. That happened after the next year,
Okay. In 19.
19, because once the general election results came out, please remember that two things started to happen from that time onwards. One is July, you had people leaving the Congress, and I think one or two people from the JDS,
Yes.
and that's when the government changed. Second thing, from that point onwards, you've had people trying to instigate all kinds of things like the Janmashtami riots in Bangalore, the hijab issue.
Yes.
People understood that something is happening which is detrimental to their electoral fortunes. So they have been trying to consolidate the identity vote. But the more they try to do that, you saw what happened. We'll ban Bajrang Dal, it turned out to be Bajrang Bali ki jai. You saw that and you see the response. I mean, none of us are making any of this up. It's right. So my point is the growth, lack of growth that the BJP experienced in a decade will be made up to a large extent in 2023. That's what I call the civilizational vote being triggered.
Okay. Very interesting. So you mentioned Mulbagal. Apart from Mulbagal, which are the other interesting seats you think? You said Arsikere as well.
Gurmitkal will be interesting. Gokak, of course, but I think we know what's going to happen there. Mm, Varuna. Varuna is up for grabs. Varuna is up for grabs. I actually had the list somewhere here. If I want me to pull it out now, Belur,
Belur, yes. Belur is
Belur.
looking
Yes, yes,
yes.
yes, yes,
Even Sakleshpur looks pretty tight.
yes. I agree with you, Sakleshpur. Yes, Some of the constituencies in Bangalore, I'm sorry, I don't know the city too well, but some of the constituencies there will throw up surprises come 13th of May.
Is
No
it?
doubt about
Okay.
it. Coastal Karnataka, obviously, it's going to be a sweep for the BJP. It's just a matter of
Yes.
the extent of that sweep. We don't know. We don't know.
What about Kittur?
Which is Kittur? Kittur is the Bombay, Maharashtra.
Bombay, Karnataka.
Bombay, Karnataka. You know, they've recovered so well there.
That's exactly what I'm hearing as well.
Me too. Me too. They've recovered so well. I have the region-wise numbers, but again, will take too long for me to pull it out.
Fair.
BJP will do better.
And Kalyan, Karnataka, which is Hyderabad, Karnataka,
Hyderabad, Karnataka.
Congress stronghold largely. But there seems to be a better performance by the BJP this time as well. I mean, there's likely to be a better performance. Are you seeing
Okay.
that?
So yes, and I'll give you the math behind it.
Okay.
Yeah. What we saw is that there are a number of pockets in Hyderabad, Karnataka, where the JDS polled double digits in 2018. Now, we can safely assume that in 2023, a lot of the identity vote is going to shift from the JDS to the Congress. That's how they consolidate, right?
Correct.
Which means that the contest will become increasingly bipolar.
Bipolar.
But then this is the new India where the more you do that, the more you more, the more you trigger that counter consolidation. So where is that balanced JDS vote going to go? It's not going to hang in limbo or stick with its
Right.
maintain its loyalties to the JDS. It will have to move, and this is what we saw in 2019. That when that happens, the higher tendency is for that vote to go to the BJP.
Oh, okay.
Nonetheless, shouldn't get too excited because increasing bipolarity means the vote share needed to win a seat goes up, margins become tighter, uncertainty increases, all that kicks in. But by and large, this is how it is. Central Karnataka
Okay.
also is a tough area.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So, you have a chart here, which is about the vote margins. Could you just take us through this?
Which one is that?
Assembly elections, BJP vote margin versus INC plus JDS, and 2019 general elections, same thing.
Ha ha ha
Very
ha ha.
different
So,
sort of.
okay, I'll just explain it to you.
Yes,
So
please.
what we did was in 2018, JDS and Congress were not allied. Nonetheless, we clubbed them together to simulate an alliance and see how the BJP performed against that simulated alliance, and then compared it with the actual alliance, assembly seat to assembly segment in 2019.
Right.
If you can show that map at some point of time to your viewers, you'll see that there was a sea change. It was a sea change,
Exactly. I mean, they're like
which is
completely
what.
different maps.
So this is the point because comparing apples to apples, what we did was we compared assembly seats to the assembly segments, and that's
Correct.
when a lot of these observations started tumbling out. Which is why we say that JDS is going to get squeezed. It's even going to come third in seats where it had won last time around. Some wait and watch, wait and watch. It will happen. And don't forget that there are 77 seats in Karnataka today, which the BJP has never won since the delimitation of 2008.
Hmm.
They used to perform moderately well in those segments, I'll call them segments, in the general elections of 2009 and 2014. But again, those 77 seats which the BJP has never won, 2019, my God, they swept, if I remember right, 44 out of 77. So Change is happening. This is the basic point. And anyone who will, say that BJP's vote share is going down, they are only putting their credibility at risk. And we've seen surveys like that. You've seen those surveys by big
Yes,
names.
yes.
It's not good. It's not good because that's non-representative.
Right. I'm gonna ask you to explain one more chart that you have. This is the win margins of the BJP, the INC, as well as the JDS in the 2018 assembly elections. Now you have compiled three maps to show how much they have, how much each seat has been won by that particular party, like by what margin. Why is this significant?
This is significant because what you see, and this is important. What you see is that the BJP, whatever it won in 2018, it wasn't enough to cross the halfway mark. But by and large, what it won well.
Okay.
Whereas, and we've got a very detailed article on this margin tranche analysis on the Swarajya website.
Right.
What we saw is that Congress shaky in a lot of places. They may have won, but shaky, which means that even 1%, 1.5% vote swing away from them is enough for them to lose the seat. The number of narrow margins is much larger for the Congress, and in percentage terms, much less for the JDS. JDS has a hold where it has a hold. So this is what the map shows.
Okay.
Only thing, the caveat is that in 2023, both the Congress and the BJP are going to eat into the JDS's vote base, including the Vocaliga vote base to some extent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying this is more of a, like you said, the civilizational vote, an identity vote. Um, so you're saying that it's all about the party and not necessarily about individuals, like say, for example, Yedurappa or Narendra Modi.
No, I won't say that. I won't say that. I'm saying it's all coming together.
Right.
Candidates have their part to play, grassroots cadres have their part to play, campaigns have their part to play. All I'm saying is that this is a reset election for Karnataka. We can't compare it backwards. The closest we can get to is qualitatively is 2019 elections. We'll have to see on the 13th the extent to which it compares up.
Can I request you to explain to our audience what this predictor model chart is about?
Sure. You see that you have three curves and three data points on your screen. The orange curve is the BJP predictor curve, which we generated. The blue one is the Congress one, and the green one at the bottom left is the JDS one. Now you will see that the BJP data point, which is marked 11342, falls on the curve. Again, INC, 87 seats, 40% vote share, falls on the curve. But the JDS one, 23 seats and 12%, falls off the curve. So this is what I explained earlier, that what looks like a mismatch is actually a wonderful tool to determine margins of error.
Right.
That's it. It's a very basic tool, works just fine.
All right, let's
AB.
look at the one with opinion polls of March, April 2023.
So in the next step was to compare our forecast with the surveys released in March and April 2023 by, there were two by ABP, there was one by eDina, and there was one by an agency called SPIC.
Right. And of course,
ABP
Yogendra
was,
Yadav.
sorry,
Of course, Yogendra Yadav also.
not saying anything, not saying anything. Um, ABP we found were Both their polls were non-representative, and we actually detailed an article just on that last month.
Okay.
Spic was fairly close because interestingly they too got their JDS data point falls off the curve, which for us is a good sign. If your forecast is good for Congress and BJP, you'll probably get JDS wrong on your plot. On your plot. The E-Dina poll, I mean, the less said about it, the better. Frankly, I mean, it's what do I say? But luckily, the third slide that you're going to show, third chart that you're going to show, we got a really good survey from Z Matriz in early
Right.
May. Came out on the 1st of May. I just come to that.
So that is
They,
situated BJP at 113 and oh sorry
BJP
107. 107.
107 is their midpoint.
Yep.
Um,
But their vote
okay,
share is similar to yours.
correct. So, look, obviously, these are all reputed agencies. They have their own predictor curves. Everyone
Hmm.
does the same, vote share to seat conversion method. Congress, very close, 85, 87, and same vote
Right.
share. So that's also fine. Um, Z, JDS, see, the thing is that they're also off the curve, but they're wrong by a lot more. They're saying 31 seats with 15% vote share.
15%.
See, this is a million-dollar question which we struggled with in Uttar Pradesh last year. The extent to which the JDS is going to decombust in Karnataka next week. It's difficult to, frankly, it's difficult to forecast that. Same thing in Uttar Pradesh, we struggled with the Bahujan Samaj Party. We knew it was crumbling, but it was extremely difficult to quantify it.
Quantify it, right?
Yes, yes, yes. But qualitatively, we can say that Z and Swarajya in agreement.
Great.
Yeah,
Well, that's some pretty phenomenal work, and I'm really glad that you took the time out to come and speak to us and explain how you have these findings. So thank you very much, Mr. Venugopal, and I'll be coming back to you on May 13th, and we'll have a
done.
quick chat again about the results.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank
Take
you
care.
very much, Mr. Venugopal.